got 27 people that are online today with us, and we've got several more here in the room. So without any more delay, let's get on with our speaker, our presenter today. And to do the introductions, here is Ron Lennox. Ron?
Thank you, Skip. One of the greatest challenges for young women in Mexico is how to receive an education equal to and sufficient to support themselves and their families. Mexico provides free education only up through the 6th grade. And many families cannot afford all of the extras, the registration, the books, the supplies, and the uniforms. And some families find it necessary to remove their children from school to support the family. To better understand these challenges, today we've invited Don Caldwell to speak to us about Mujeres en Cambio. He's the president of Mujeres in Cambio. Don was raised in Alberta, Canada, spent the last 18 plus years in Mexico. He graduated from the University of Alberta and worked for the Canadian Foreign Service right out of college. In 1995, a group of Canadians, Americans, and Mexicans joined together to form Mujeres en Cambio. The goal of the organization is to give families all of the incentives necessary to keep their girls in school and set them on a path much different than many of their parents. In his first year, which was in 1995, Mujeres en Cambio had a total of 8 girls enrolled. In 2020, Mujeres en Cambio assisted 177 girls by raising $90,000 plus US dollars in scholarship funds. The true test of success for them is the actual completion of secondary, preparatory, and university programs. In the 2019-20 school year, Mujeres en Cambio had 21 young ladies graduate from secondary school, 35 from preparatory school, and 17 from universities. What a great success story.
Yeah.
Thank you, Don, for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing more about Mujeres en Cambio.
Well, thank you very much for that very kind introduction, Ron. You've just about covered all the things I wanted to say, so. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak with you today. I'm sure you have no desire to spend your whole morning looking at my old tired face, so you'll be relieved to know that my remarks will be backed up by some colored pictures, and it is mostly those that you will see from me today. I must say it's a pleasure to be back in the arms of Rotary. While living abroad, I was often invited to become a member of the local Rotary chapter. I always enjoyed the fellowship and admired the very important community service that Rotary does around the world. I hope I'm allowed to share the screen here. My last Rotary membership was in your chapter 478, Rotary International District 3810. You might recognize this guy. The chapter 478 meets in downtown Manila in the Philippines. It was a chapter established in 1919, so not a young one at all. The Manila Rotary originally met at the old Manila Hotel, which was MacArthur's headquarters. It is a great landmark and still preserves the top floor where MacArthur lived as a museum. It is, of course, loaded with interesting memorabilia from the Second War in the Pacific. The Downtown Manila Rotary is a large luncheon club, and its membership includes some very heavy hitters from the business and government. And so it was a useful place for me to do some schmoozing in the work that I was doing there. And that was about a century ago. So thank you for inviting me back to Rotary. It's a pleasure and a sincere pleasure to be back. As you may have read, I'm a country boy from the foothills of Alberta. So I know that the burning question in everybody's mind this morning will be whether Texas is bigger than Alberta. To ease your minds in that respect, I've done a little research, and found the answer to that. Texas comes in at a whopping 268 and change thousand square miles. And Alberta, a little bit behind at 255,500 square miles. So Texas wins that one. But you know, Alberta is also has a little town called Calgary, and we have some pretty decent hills, some great fields of canola, and a lot of lovely ranch land. But we're not here today to talk about General MacArthur, nor Alberta, nor Texas. I hope you're tuned in to hear a bit about my most passionate interest, which is Mujeres and Cambio. This is a picture which we love to show because we always include the quotation from Kofi Annan. We love it to use it because it fits perfectly with what we do. I've been charged with the responsibility of the board president of this charity for less than 4 months. I had very little experience with charity work prior to coming to Mujeres and Cambio about 3 years ago. I have to say it has been an enormously rewarding experience. We are an all volunteer run charity. We have no physical assets and no paid staff. Our overhead is less than 10%, so donations really do go far with us. And to say that I'm in charge is a gross exaggeration because we have 15 to 20 key volunteers working in executive positions for our girls. These volunteers are the ones in charge, really. They look after the important aspects of the work that we do. Here's a good picture recently shot of the main volunteers in our organization. They're a very lovely looking group. They give so freely of their time. They do this because they share this great passion for our noble mission. They are my family and they are absolutely essential to our success. Let me start by saying that our vision in Mujeres and Cambio is empowering girls and young women through education. Our mission narrows that theme, and we provide scholarship assistance to girls from poor rural villages around San Miguel de Allende in amounts sufficient to keep them in school. That mission began 25 years ago, as Ron pointed out. A group of San Miguel residents, mostly expats in the US and Canada, but also some Mexican women, got together to explore ways to help women in rural villages around San Miguel. They had learned that rural women living in these villages were living in rather poor circumstances. I'm sure many of you have had the opportunity to visit some of the small villages around San Miguel. I'm a country boy from Alberta, but even in the 40s and 50s in Canada, the country living was nothing like we find in rural Mexico even today. When I first arrived in Mexico about 18 years ago, I needed to do some renovations on a house I just bought. Yes, I'm one of those that bought a house about a week after I got here. A friend introduced me to some albañil who turned out to be young men from the campo. They arrived on time with their tools, you know, the usual tools, a 5-gallon bucket containing a 2-foot level, 15 feet of clear plastic tube, a ball of string, and 2-pound hammer, a chisel, and trowel. That was all they needed to construct a new facade for my house. One of these boys invited me to a birthday party for his daughter, one of his daughters. Seeing where these fellows lived was my first introduction to country living in Mexico style. Many of the homes had dirt floors, 6 kids to a room, no sewage, no running water, and even now, very limited telecommunications connectivity. Trying to imagine what many of our girls, or try to imagine what many of our girls have been suffering through during this pandemic nightmare. Trying to connect remotely to their virtual schools and the virtual classrooms, often with one device for a household. So back to the history, from discussions some of these expat and local founders had with the village women, they learned that one of their biggest concerns was keeping their daughters in school. Education in Mexico, as Ron pointed out, is not free. School supplies, books, and uniforms are the responsibility of the student's family. Often the family would rather educate their boys. They would send the girls out to menial work to earn a little extra cash for the family. Their daughters, not fond of menial work, would typically marry very young and become pregnant, not necessarily in that order, and thus the cycle of poverty would continue. The Mujeres and Cambio founders learned that with just a little financial incentive, some of these families would be persuaded to keep their daughters in school. And Mujeres and Cambio was born from that small beginning 25 years ago. And as Ron pointed out as well, in the first year of operation, there were 8 girls that were assisted with about $18 a month going to them as bursaries or scholarships, or becas as we call them. This year, our scholarship program will put about $92,000 US dollars in the hands of 157 girls and young women, 39 secondary, 67 preparatory, and 52 university. One of the stories I found fascinating about these early beginnings of Mujeres and Cambio was about a woman called Dhonia Julio. She was an early activist in the village of Ixitlo, not far from here. It was one of the villages where Mujeres and Cambio were working in to select girls for their DECA program. Little did they know that Dhonia Julio was a force to be reckoned with. When she learned about these foreign women interested in helping to educate young girls, she was one of the first in line. Dhonia Julio had 2 granddaughters who was determined to break the cycle of poverty in her family. But not only was she successful in getting a scholarship for her granddaughters, she herself was so persuasive, she managed to get herself in the nascent Mujeres Cambio, the scholarship program. She was 72 years old at the time. Indeed, with Mujeres' help, she completed high school and went on to study the Haute Couture Academy here. And even more astonishing, after a career as a master dressmaker, and you can't see that picture very well, but that's our current, our past president talking to Dhonia Julio just a few weeks ago. She's alive and well at 92 years old. We had coffee with her not long ago. She still lives in her village, tending trees in her garden. Today, we don't have any older women enrolled in our scholarship program. We do try to bring the girls in at around 13 years old. We're a 501c3 charity in the US. We are partnered with Amistad Canada so that donors from US and Canada can receive tax credits for their donations. Our assistance is primarily in the form of becas. We have assisted about 920 girls since our inception, and we've given away a little over $1.2 million since 1995. We distribute our scholarships. Well, I wanted to say that the amounts of money that is involved for helping a young girl stay in school is not great by Canadian or US standards. It amounts to about $300 a year for high school and junior high school students, and about $1,200 a year for university students. We distribute these scholarships directly to our girls in 5 distributions during the year. They get their cash to get their cash, they each provide their qualifying grade point average, which is 8 for grade school and 8.5 for university. We select female students from our program beginning in Secundaria, which is about the grade 8 equivalent. Our students are selected by our scholarship committee in consultation with teachers and school directors. They work with 7 rural community schools around San Miguel Allende. The girls themselves are from over 40 different villages around San Miguel. They are selected by educational interest and family commitment and economic need. And of course, the grade point average of 8 is required for school and 8.5 for university. Girls lucky enough to be selected to enter our program are eligible to receive scholarship assistance through high school graduation. And up until now, we've also assisted our girls through university, provided they keep meeting our grade standard. This also included the cost of the titulo professional certification, which graduates usually need to practice their chosen discipline. In total, that amounts to 10 years of support, plus the cost of the titulo. And therein lies the problem. Planning and budgeting over a 10-year horizon is very problematic because so much depends on our annual fundraising success. As a result, we are planning to implement new requirements for our university scholarships. This will mean that we will no longer guarantee university support for our students in high school. We may reserve the possibility of requiring higher grade point average, and perhaps the introduction of a means test to ensure we have sufficient funds to cover the potential 5-year scholarship assistance plus titulo. We know we're making a difference in this effort, but we're asking our supporters to dig really deep this year, so as not to disappoint these deserving young women. I mean, what is the cost of a broken dream or university education, or simply the dream of escaping the cycle of poverty for their families? We're proud to have helped a large class of high school and university graduates in the most recent year, 2020. Here are some of their mugshots. Fine looking new Mexican citizens that are on their way to life-changing experiences. The ones graduating from university are finding their place in a variety of, an impressive variety of disciplines. Even those that don't go all the way through university provide a path out of poverty for their families with the better jobs. They set an example in their village, furthermore. I was fascinated by this particular graphic, although you can't see it perhaps because of the overlay. But business management rates #1, small sample admittedly, which just shows the entrepreneurial attitude of the Mexicans. We have asked some of our graduates and current students about this assistance they have received from Mujeres in Cambio, and some of their stories are truly heartwarming. This is Anna. She's one of 6 girls in her family of 11 that has benefited from Mujeres in Cambio changing assistance provided through our scholarship program. Neither parent has any education. The father was a night watchman. The mother makes gorditas. The father passed away, unfortunately, a couple of years ago with a serious case of pneumonia. Anna graduated from high school from our program in 2018 and desperately wanted to go to university, but she did not have the grades. Undeterred, she persevered and came back to us after her first semester at university, showing 9s, 10s in grade point average terms. Her intervention with us for scholarship assistance for her university was so impressive, we couldn't turn her down. Anna has now finished university and is pursuing a career in physical education. And this is what I find so compelling about our program. They come to us as shy 13-year-old grade school students, and they leave as confident young women with a career, something they could not even have dreamt about before entering our program. It is this kind of radically different life path that awaits shy 8th graders lucky and talented enough to enter our scholarship program. Now, I'd be in real trouble if I didn't mention this. The last pronouncement of the current Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres. One of our founders has been very excited about this particular development, and so I do not want to disappoint Georgianne Johnson by leaving it out this morning. The Secretary General repeated what Kofi Annan had said years earlier. There's no development more important than education of girls. He said this in the context of some findings by the Carbon Drawdown Group, who recently identified girls' education as number 6 on the list of 100 most important solutions in their quest for carbon drawdown, number 6, ahead of many other so-called technological fixes. There's no doubt in my mind that education of women, educated women have fewer children, improve economic standing of their families, and are better stewards of the environment and the world's natural resources. Our funding comes entirely from individual donors, revenue from events, and a couple of grants that we have been able to get quite regularly. Our goal this year is $100,000. As you can see from this graphic, grants make up only about 15% of that. Due to COVID, our ability to hold large fundraising events has been severely restricted both this year and last. So we plan to lean very heavily on our current supporters and work extra hard at attracting new ones. As I said, we have a very noble cause. I hope I have demonstrated how important it is in the community around San Miguel to continue this work. And we have some impressive testimonial to back up this claim. We are proud recipients of grant support from the Unitarians in San Miguel, who have generously supported us for 8 consecutive years. They say, Mujeres in Cambio must be congratulated for all the great work you continue to do for the betterment of our community. We are very proud to share last year's testimony from the Lacewing Foundation, who are regular and very significant donors to our cause. They say, for an all volunteer organization, you really do an exemplary job supporting these young women. Lacewing is happy to be able to help you in your work. I know that there are numerous supporters who are members of Rotary here in San Miguel. Your generosity is making a difference, and we are very grateful for your support. We would dearly like to recruit additional supporters from your membership and others who may be listening remotely. Of course, it's all about the money. We are currently in the throes of our summer fundraising drive. I'll share our fundraising literature with Ron, and in turn, perhaps he can share it with the Rotary membership. It is so easy to become a supporter of Mujeres in Cambio. Together we can help fulfill the hopes and dreams of many more deserving young girls from these poor rural villages. I ask you to join us in doing that. So thank you very much for listening. It's been a real pleasure visiting with you, albeit remotely. Thank you. I put you all to sleep.
No. No, thanks, Don. Does anybody have any questions? I'm sure there are some questions out there. So if there are any questions here in the room or on Zoom, please raise your hand. Anybody out there? I don't think.
Skip, David here.
Go ahead, David.
Thank you for the excellent presentation. Mike, I've been following Mujeres Cambio since it was instituted, and I remember when Marge Zapp, one of the founders, really gave it the big push. You guys have done wonderful work over the years. My question is, are the members of Mujeres in Cambio actively involved with the young ladies, the students, in terms of helping them with tutoring and other kinds of problems that they may have along the way? I know that Jóvenes Adelante does that, and they're very, very active. So that's my question. Is there an actual tutoring program within Mujeres in Cambio?
Well, Jóvenes Adelante is got deeper pockets than we do, and so we don't offer up an actual in-person tutoring program for our girls, but we do, although it's been severely hampered by this current COVID nightmare. But we have been offering the girls sex ed program here in town, environmental protection program here in town, family planning. So we do that. We have a new scholarship chair just recently joined us, Barbara Salazar, and we're hoping, and she's very keen on improving the ability to interact with the girls. So we're moving in that direction. But remember, we're an all-volunteer organization, and we can only go as far as we get volunteers to help us.
Thank you very much. Gracias.
And if anybody would like any further information, the website is Mujeres en Cambio, all one word, mujeresencambio.org. Don, appreciate you being here today. I think we, Ron, do we have a presentation certificate for Don?
I'll be sending it to him.
I don't hear him.
I want to mention the donation, but I'll send him the certificate because I don't have it right here.
I kind of hear him in the background, but I don't know what happened to him.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry.
There you are. Okay.
I can't pull the certificate up right at the moment, but if you let Don know that the donation is going towards polio vaccinations, we will be making a donation to the Rotary Foundation's effort to provide polio vaccinations around the world in critical areas in your name, in your honor.
Well, Ron, you just did it. So Don, we will be sending that to you. We'll email it to you, suitable for framing, and the donations to Polio Plus be made in your name. We thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much. My pleasure, for sure.
All right.
Last question, my friends. How do the girls approach to you?
We approach the girls. We do that through the 7 or so community district schools around San Miguel, in consultation with the teachers and the directors. We select schools on the basis of family commitment to keeping the girls in school, their parent need in terms of economic standing, and their scholastic standard. And so with those 3 elements, these girls are selected. We select about 3 girls out of every community school.
Okay, the Cebetis schools are included in those pickings?
Now you're asking questions above my pay grade. I can't tell you exactly whether that village is involved or not. But if you would send me a note with the name of the village precisely, I could let you know that.
Correct. Okay, I will. Thank you.
Well, Don, if you look on the screen now by magic, you see your certificate. Rotary Midday of San Miguel de Allende presents this certificate of appreciation to Don Caldwell for your presentation to our club. A donation of 10 polio immunizations will be made in your honor to the End Polio Now campaigns. Don, thank you very much again for being here.
Thank you very much.
And Ron, what do we have next week?
Next week, we have Sarah Hotch, who is the founder of the Guanajuato Film Festival. It's the largest film festival in Mexico. She'll be here to give us a preview of what's happening. It's from the 17th of September through the 26th. And it's here in San Miguel for 3 days on the September 21st, 22nd, and 23rd.
All right.
It's always a very big event here in San Miguel.
So it's lights, camera, and action next week. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.